and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Education is evolving and so are teachers. Today, some are no longer just standing in front of a classroom. They're also creating bite-sized, engaging lessons on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Now, the rise of the teacher influencer, or Edufluencer, is responding to the way students consume knowledge. But is this an innovative step forward, or does it blur the lines between education and entertainment? Joining me now to discuss this further is Tay Tien Singh, who is Director of Partnerships and Prize Initiatives at Pimpins, which is an education not-for-profit organization that focuses on strengthening leadership in schools. Tien Singh, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me here today. What is Pimpins' view on this teacher influencer or edufluencer trend? What do you guys make of it?
Thank you very much, Melissa, for having us. I think this idea of teachers making content or teachers trying to promote their work is something that we look quite positively towards the education landscape. I think we oftentimes have to understand that it gives people from outside of, or people who have been sort of outside of education, who have sort of left schools in a long time, having a sense of what is happening, what is current within, what is happening within their children's classroom, for example, and what are teachers doing in order to best provide the most effective learning environment for their students. And I think fundamentally, it is a choice that teachers have, that some teachers have made, that they have tapped into this wealth of potential that lies within social media, in TikTok, videos and so on, in order to make sure that their students not just learn in the classroom, but also have that avenue outside of the classroom to sort of reinforce what they have learned within. I've known teachers from the Malaysia Teacher Prize that have done amazing work in this. I think the one that I remember the most vividly is Cikgu Sharil, who he has this thing where he likes to do short videos for primary school maths, where he teaches like how do you do multiplications, these kinds of tricks in order to master basics in numeracy. And he will often do it when he's on vacation, so that he gets a very interesting setting. So could be like behind some mountains and then just talking about tips and tricks to do multiplication. And that was his way to try and ensure that his students would find the videos engaging and be reminded of what they have learned in the classroom. And it just gives that extra push for them to really reinforce their learning. And I think that's a wonderful thing for us all to see.
Okay, that's so interesting. It sounds like it's a positive step forward, but are there any concerns? I mean, we've heard comments from the Minister of Communication, Datuk Fahmi Fadzil, who said that maybe teachers should avoid these types of showcasing at least students within their videos, or having anything to do with students within the videos. What are your thoughts on that?
I think definitely when there are issues that relate to children, students, we're talking about minors, where obviously things that would come to our attention would be issues of safety and privacy. And I think those are the central tenets that every teacher has to abide by, whether or not they are using social media, right? Even in how you conduct the classroom, when you bring them out for trips, these are things that we have to protect as an educator. And I think with regards to that, the ministry has release a guideline in terms of what are the ethical procedures that come into play whenever a teacher himself or herself is doing content, and more so when they are involving students. And I think fundamentally, if teachers are aware of the protocols that need to be abided by in protecting the students' privacy and safety, then that should be okay for teachers to proceed in terms of using social media.
Then saying there are those who argue that teachers shouldn't even be content creators, because that should be left to those who are outside the classroom. And then on the other hand, there are people who say, well, actually teachers are the most best positioned to create educational content. They understand pedagogy, they understand students' needs. But what do you think? Should teachers be producing content on top of what they're already doing within the schools?
I think fundamentally it is a personal choice. I think I would like to draw a comparison with using social media or using these kinds of platforms to advocate or to create that space for learning as a choice for teachers to be able to identify what is the best way that they want to teach their students. You know, times, technology progresses. I think we wouldn't have known in 10 years, back in 10 years ago, that AI would be a significant way for us to model things or for us to craft lesson plans and so on. And I think in that kind of spirit of teachers continuously learning, teachers continuously finding the best ways to teach their students, social media and content creation becomes a choice for them to decide whether or not that's the best way they want to move forward. Similar to back then, did they want to use a projector versus writing on the blackboard, right? And I think we need to provide teachers with the autonomy and the space for them to determine what works for their group of students. If they find that, for example, the group of students that they are working with are much more receptive or develop more interest in terms of learning what they are supposed to learn based on the curriculum through social media, then I think that is something that they have the practical professional knowledge to make that choice. An example I would love to cite would be, I think Sir Asai is one of the biggest edufluencers that one can think of. Everybody sort of knows the whole got it frame. And I think when Sir Asai started his entire platform on TikTok and so on, his goal was to get his students to be interested in learning English. That's the fundamental goal, right? To want to learn English, and he needed that entertaining medium in order to pick their interest so that they would then focus in class. And I think to that end, he was more successful than he could have possibly imagined in getting the, people around the world or people around Malaysia that at least to know how to spell interesting words and be interested in the subject. So I think back to the point of coming back to the question of whether this is going to be on top of what they're doing, I think it's an option that exists. And if the teacher will want to pursue it because they think it's best for their kids, then who are we to say no?
Right. Well, but not all teachers have the skills to create high quality education. I'm thinking about how we can support teachers, because if this is essentially another way to engage students it's an evolution of the pedagogy, maybe we can help support and equip teachers with the skills needed for content creation. Do you think that content creation skills should be made part of teacher training? Should we be able to give them the skills to help them excel and succeed in this?
Actually, we have seen a rising surge in teachers picking up content creation skills. And I want to just step a little back in defining content creation. Besides, I think we've been talking about reels, social media posts, and so on. But I think a lot of it also comes in terms of designing posters with Canva, right? Generating images through AI, for example. That kind of content creation skills have seeped into classrooms, in the sense that there are teachers who identify this as a good way to either make their classrooms more interactive, or it has also come into play in terms of how they design student assessment. We see that there are teachers who, regardless if you teach English or maths, maybe an assignment for English would be like, oh, design a poster talking about a debate competition, and then from that, write an essay based on that, for example. And that's something that teachers who have found the skills to learn Canva either through themselves, through online platforms, or through professional learning communities amongst teachers who have been identified to be more master trainers in these kinds of areas. We see that kind of network of teachers supporting each other in order to learn these new skills that they feel that they need to enrich their classrooms. And of course, I think in Pemimpin, we strongly believe in the fact that, if you look at the career span of a teacher for over 30 years, these kinds of skills the need for new skills will constantly evolve. And that's why in-service teacher development is central to making sure that wherever we are in whatever technological period or whatever advancement has been made, teachers have the most up-to-date skills to transform their classrooms and make it better for the student.
Okay, I mean, this is all very positive, and I'm glad to hear that it's a way forward. The way students are learning, the way teachers are teaching, but every new teaching method, I think, brings benefits and drawbacks. And I was hoping we can think about what we're trading off. when education moves online, when education moves to social media platforms, what's gained, what's lost in this shift to maybe social media based education? I mean, what do schools gain when teachers use more social media as an educational tool? But more importantly, what do we lose?
And I think so building on this question and on as we move to social media, of course, I think engagement is the main thing that normally drives people to move towards social media. Then things being bite-sized, not longer than 60 seconds, trying to really fine-tune content that is fit for purpose for, I guess, what is a normal attention span of people on social media, for example, right? And I think teachers understand, and so do we, that we cannot substitute completely a classroom with social media, right? It's one thing, building on the example I gave, is one thing to tell you, to remind you of a tip on how to do multiplication through a 60-second video. It's a completely different thing to teach you calculus on social media in a 60-second video, right? So I think we have to be strategic so that we don't sort of over-rely on social media. And I think teachers have that sense of knowledge and autonomy to decide, okay, this is a tool that can aid, but how does that supplement or feedback to what we are doing in the classroom? That quality time that you have physically or online within the space of that classroom. And so that is still where the majority of learning is happening. And then social media and all these other stuff can play as a supplementary role to drive interest, to reinforce the learning, and make sure that what we want to achieve is students being prepared for exams, being prepared for what the knowledge and skills they need to advance in life is acquired.
Right. So are you seeing more teachers using social media as an educational tool in your search for the next Malaysia's Teacher Prize? Is that what you're seeing? Is that a trend that you're seeing?
Actually, I think it's actually not a significant proportion. And I think I think for the Malaysia Teacher Prize, we've been quite fortunate to receive various kinds of pedagogical methods or strategies that teachers like to employ. Of course, there are teachers who excel in content creation, and they are wonderful for doing that. But I think to counteract or to balance the entire ecosystem, there are still teachers who are very, in some ways or other, fundamentals in terms of how do you create teaching materials from reusable materials, recycling, having that kind of much more tangible physical kind of elements in order to enrich their classrooms. Teachers who still very much value that, or doing extracurricular activities outside of building a farm in their classroom, in their schools, for example, those kinds of experiences. And I think that's the beauty of how teachers are able to adapt and integrate things. As much as there's a push to digitalize, there's a push towards using technologies to support whatever teachers can do. Teachers have managed to both learn new skills and manage to balance that with finding what fundamentally is the best way that students can learn. And that's a beauty to see in teachers who apply and in the teachers that we have worked with through workshops and all of that. And I think that's the ecosystem that we want to build, having that network of teachers that can support each other in regardless of what facet or what domain that they want to specialize in. I would say one interesting thing was also that teachers who, one thing about social media, besides, I think a lot of the conversation we have been having is about how the teachers can support student learning. I think the other untapped potential is social media being this positive space in which teachers support each other. We've been seeing growth of teachers. I think making videos is one thing, because I think, as you mentioned, maybe not all teachers are skilled content creators or making videos, editing, and all that sort of stuff, right? But a lot of teachers are starting to pour their heart out in terms of how has their journey in being a teacher is, what is the recent strategy that they've been, and these are like paragraphs of descriptions, how they feel and everything. And I think potential for an individual teacher sharing to other teachers to reinvigorate everybody within the profession, to inform the public, and also to share best practices, to learn from each other, having that sense of that communal sense of we're all in this together, we're all trying our our best way or putting in our best efforts. I think that's a very impactful thing that I loved through my own social media feed and seeing how teachers tap into that.
That's wonderful. That's a little community that's been created. Tenzin, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I appreciate you and your time. Tien Sing from Pimpins there. We're going to take a quick break here on Consider This. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris. Let's continue our discussion about the rise of teacher influencers or edufluencers, educators who create content for social media. Joining me on the show now is Mohammed Nazmi Rosli, who is the Senior Assistant of Student Affairs at Sekolah Kebangsaan Long Sebangan in Lawas, Sarawak. Cikgu Nazmi was the winner of the 2023 Malaysia Teacher Prize, and he was also shortlisted as one of the 10 finalists for the 2025 Global Teacher Prize. So Cikgu Nazmi, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. What do you think about teachers who create content for educational content for social media? Can you share a bit about how you've used social media to enhance the learning experience for your students?
All right, thank you, Malaysia. So I use social media as a bridge between the classroom and the real world. Through platforms like Facebook, IG, and TikTok, I showcase student projects such as my Philippine Club short films, allowing them to share their work with global audience. I also use social media to gamify learning, where students complete challenges, interact with digital content, and even get feedback from industry professionals. For example, when we created an anti-corruption film, social media allowed students to engage with real anti-corruption officers. It gives students a sense of purpose and audience beyond just the teachers.
Okay, so educational content on social media, does it actually help students learn? Because I'm just wondering, because students, they may enjoy social media content, right? But it doesn't mean that they're retaining that information. So what is the biggest advantage of teachers using social media for education?
So for me, yes, educational content on social media did actually help students to learn, but only when used strategically. Social media provide bite-sized, engaging, and interactive learning experiences that cater to modern students. The biggest advantage is that it helps students connect learning to real-life application. For example, when we turn our class into a simulated laundromat, students made social media posts about business ethics, reinforcing lesson in a way that it felt practical, not only for me and the student, but they also going to bring this at home. They're telling why this is important for the parents. Also, students who are very shy in classroom, sometimes they're a bit more comfortable interacting online, helping them gain confidence in expressing their ideas.
So Cik Nazmi, do your other teachers as well use social media the way you use social media? Do you see that happening more and more amongst your fellow teachers?
Yes. There's a lot of program that helping teachers this day compared to what we have back then. To be a Google certified educators, to be Apple certified educators, and more my newer staff, my senior staff were happy to join all this kind of program. They're giving a lot of good advantage and giving them chance to upgrade their pedagogical skill in the class. So it's good to see this happening among my friend, among my colleague, and all other teachers across my district.
Yeah. Where do they learn the skills? I mean, I'm just wondering if this is really a great tool for helping teaching and learning. Do you think that we should do more to help give the right skills for teachers to learn to become digital, to create digital content?
So actually, our Ministry of Education has been working on this for almost 10 years.
Wow.
They've been providing a lot of good courses for teachers. They are giving training for Delima. They're giving training on teachers on how to make a good video editing skill, on how to produce content on social media. They're giving guidelines, clear guideline for us on what to do and what not to do in social media. Right now, every school, we were encouraged to create our own TV PSS. It's a club where students can create their own content and show it through their school official Facebook. So it's like so the kid's going to be a journalist. They're going to shoot. They're going to go to a scene. For example, recently we have Bazaar Ramadan. So my student and his crew going to the Bazaar Ramadan. They wrote script for it, and then one of it going to shoot the scene, and one of it talk about it. They going out interviewing people and all. And then we teachers, we teach the kids how to edit and everything, share it in our social media. So this thing was encouraged even by our district officers, even in Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri, and even a lot of competition that welcoming us to come up with all these kind of ideas. I remember coming back from Dubai after the Global Teacher Prize, there are a lot of schools, students want to interview me, so I have to arrange my schedule on them. So they learn how to make a good scheduling. They learn how to talk with, people. They're meeting YBs. They're meeting all these kinds of officers. So they learn how to talk proper and well. They learn to be confident. They even learn how to do background checking. Oh, today I'm going to meet this icon. Or this what I have to do. Seeing my kids doing all that is so great. So what we have in the educational scene in Malaysia is that we want all this not only for the teachers, but also everyone in the school, the student especially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad this is happening.
The teachers can support the children using social media as a positive and confidence-building platform. But I can imagine that creating and managing social media content would be quite time-consuming. How do you manage that with your teaching workload? Because teachers already have so much, their workload is already so heavy. Does it ever feel like it's just more and more and too much sometimes with the new skills that have come onto the scene now?
So I think when we talk about workload, it's like a more subjective question, So for me, when you love doing things that you love to do, you sometimes don't put that as a workload. Our teachers these days, they willingly spend time on social media, and they already have this all kind of knowledge. They know how to use video editing. They know how to use shoots and record things. They have better gadget than us. So most of them are willing to participate. Our admin won't force anyone to do it, but we are well organized and we are well guided to do it, and we are very well motivated to do it. Our teachers willing to spend a lot of money on doing it. They're not worrying going extra for this. Buying. There's a teacher who have this one camera that worth like 50K just to help the school, with their own money. So I believe, of course it's a bit time consuming, but we do it together.
Right. So what advice do you have, Cikgu Nazmi, for teachers who are interested and want to try but are new to creating social media content for educational purposes?
Number one, start small. Don't feel pressured to go viral. Begin with simple content like posting class updates or short explainer videos. Number two, keep it authentic. Students engage more when they see real teaching moments, not overproduced content lah. Number three, prioritize student safety. Always get concerned and be mindful of what's being shared. And then I think last one for me, engage. Don't just broadcast. Reply to student comments, ask questions, and make learning a two-way conversation. That's from me.
Wonderful. Cikgu Nazmi, thank you so much for your time and your advice and insights. I appreciate that. As Mohammed Nazmi Rosli from Sekolah Kebangsaan Lonspangan in Lawas, Sarawak, wrapping up this episode of Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching and good night.